Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Who am I but I'm Dre Mac? Came into the game just to spit facts. It's to the space that I'm in. They got me by the Drake cause I'm cold with the pen. I find no diamonds but I still shine. You can dig me cause my bar's mine. My tracks flame like a diamond. I on the floor on my tongue, thinking it's a warm glue. I'm a throw with a gas leak. Camouflage in the mist, but you smell me. One spark, then I bet you I'ma blow up. Just throw my name around, get stupid, then you go dumb. No rest for the weary, or versus thinking in his man, but you can't see me. You rather drink, they gon' pull up, but drink a knife through the game, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. I came to eat at the a la carte. Got stripped of a bear, call me brainstorm. Did I come together like a Voltron? Did I forward all the plaques to you Decepticons? Fake rappers that retreat like Cobra. 80s they before they like. Up in the storage and I'm man. Up, down, man, I'm cheap. You a beast, man. I take a beat in. Ninja Turtle rap, Turtle Clans get defeated. Hot in my ride. You can call me Night Rider. You can never stop me. Cause I'm a guy bomb. Bad attitude like Maracas. My whole to the A. And I bet you can stop us. LL bad when I go and show up. You can hear the haters in the back. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie. Let me get him where I fit in, homie.
This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the honey sauce. To get that honey sauce on me, I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
What's up? What is going on, everybody? This your man, Dre Mac, coming to you again with another episode of the Dre Mac Show. 7:30 in the morning Central Time, 8:30 on the East Coast. You're from the West Coast. Get up, because you already know that the early bird gets the worm. And on today, let me do this. For the person that was asking for I want to see what you got with your Ironheart. Bam! Who is here? Ironheart. I told you, I am gonna collect everything. I try to collect everything, black. But you know what I mean? Ironheart's with me. You know what I mean? And this ain't new. This is Ironheart when nobody was buying Black Panther Wakanda Forever figures. This is the first figure I picked up from the Black Panther Wakanda Forever series. And then, because I paid for a full price, and I actually could have got it for a discount. So shout out to Riri Williams sitting right here. But so today there was a video that came out that I don't know how I got. Sometimes I don't even know how I get to some of these videos, but it was a video that was out that was talking about Static Shock. You know what I mean? Like, DC hates Static Shock. or they hate and disrespect that Static Shock. So I'm curious. I want to know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So this is coming from M Enterprises. They're going to be tagged in the video. So I kind of want to see what they're talking about, where we're at with this. So, just give me a little bit. We won't get into it, but hopefully you guys are happy. Hope you guys are healthy. Shout out to my man Heavy Gant over at the Heavy Gant React channel. But you already know how I do. The real question is, all right. Give me just a second. I'm gonna check who is all in the house. Did you guys put in the chat? Did you guys like the pre-intro now? Like a pre-intro? You know what I mean? Sometimes something is wrong with me. Something is wrong with me. You know what I mean? Something is most definitely wrong with me. But I'm calling that the pre-intro before I get on. You know what I mean? Or if I got to stop and do something. What do y'all think? Do you like the Butter Biscuit Gang? You know what I mean? Let me know if you think it's corny. If you're like, man, stop this mess. This is starting to get corny. Let me know, because you're my audience and I am here to entertain. And if you think it's stupid, you need to let me know. Well, let me see who was all in the house today. Let me see. Marley Mart is in the house. Good morning. Roberta is up in the house. Good morning. The church auntie. Good morning. Robin D, the admin, is up in here. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. She put it on there, so don't make sure to do it. Xavier Phoenix, good morning. Junior Network, good morning. Earl Hughes, good morning. Nice to see you back in the chat again. Taste the biscuits. Priscilla, good morning. Professor Film Fam, good morning. Roberta say, yep. What's up, D Stizzle? Good morning. And Robert D said it's hilarious. Again, something is wrong with me. I like literally was doing that after I got out of my shower this morning, because something is wrong with me, and I just thought it was funny. And sometimes I could be corny. I could be corny as flub, but you know what I mean. When I got a break into action, I got one that I'm creating. I can't do it right now, but I got one I'm creating for my pause break. You know what I mean? With that butter. Oh man. While we're buttering our biscuits. All right, so I came across this video because it was interesting. I think the thumbnail is this is super petty. This is not godlike. But I came across this video that said DC hates and disrespects Static Shock. So I'm like, yo, let me check it out. Let me see what they're talking about, and let's go from there. So let's check out this video again. Oops, wrong one. This is from M Enterprises. This is DC hates and disrespects Static Shock. All right, let's go.
Just tell me, why won't you adopt me?
I'm not gonna say it!
Why won't you adopt me?
Because you're black!
Well, it's about time. A whole video dedicated to my favorite DC chocolate-covered brother, Static.
What?
Everybody's raving about Miles Morales' Spider-Man these days thanks to the popularity and success of the Spider-Verse movies and the Insomniac Spider-Man games, which kind of all bloomed around the same time. But many years prior to the creation of Miles Morales, Static was pretty much the black teen superhero,
He ain't
effectively
lying
providing
either.
the representation that was needed in the superhero space. A character that the black nerd community could actually relate and look up to. They created
Now, I was a little older when Static Shock came out, but I still, checked out the cartoon from time to time. I thought it was dope. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, I seen every season and I got the toys, you know what I'm saying, the merch or nothing. I'm not even going to sit up here in front like this. I was an older guy and I was looking at this, in a different view at that point in time. But it did have some dope stories that I did see, like the episode Shaq was on, and of course, in the first episode, how they got their powers and everything. But I had others. I was grown. I had others. It just ain't gonna lie to you. I kind of had other life was going on right now, and it's not like how it is today. Because I kind of want people to understand that, like back in the day, if you didn't have, and DVR came in like later, but you was if you didn't, if you didn't record these like on a VCR or stuff like that, you wasn't watching every episode. You know what I mean? Like seriously. I mean, then DVR kind of came along. You had to pay like it, and it was in it because it was at the time everything is new. Hell, I paid $200 for my DVD player, when I was 19. So that'll tell you. You know what I mean? But before DVR came on, we couldn't watch this stuff like that. We had to catch it when we caught it. So if I didn't catch it, I wasn't watching it like that because I was a little older. But this is kind of like what that medium is. But it's good that people who were there and can actually remember. I do not like this in front of my face. I'll put it back up after I just don't like that being in my face. But so, so I didn't catch it like that, but I knew there was a lot of younger, my younger cousins and stuff like that was in love with Static. Like Static was the greatest thing that ever happened to them, and that's dope because that shows you the power of that a really good representation. Not baddies. You know what I mean? When you're a nerd and you want to geek out, you actually got somebody that that looks like you and stuff, and that's dope. Let me keep going because I kind of went a little too much, but
creatives over at Milestone Comics believed they needed to have a teenage superhero when they first launched the Milestone universe, as Dwayne McDuffie wanted to fill the void of having a prominent teen superhero with real-life problems, since Peter Parker at the time had grown into a full-grown adult and was married to Mary Jane, crafting a character that was grounded in the social and cultural reality of the time. And after all this time of making videos on DC characters, my boy Virgil Hawkins finally gets his own dedicated entry.
Hey, that's some real good shit, my nigga, for real. Congratulations, nigga.
Many felt that there was a lack of
reading?
proper diversity in comics, where a lot of diverse characters in the superhero space never got their proper due and were sort of tossed to the side or riddled with stereotypes. Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cowan, Michael Davis, and Derek T. Dingle all teamed up to combat this by creating their own comic book company.
Yo, they should get more flowers than, I might do a actual video dedicated just to these brothers. Yeah, RLP Dwayne McDuffie. Just, doing like a dedication just to these brothers, the history of Milestone and everything that I could be able to find and make a video for them to give them their flowers, because I don't think they get it enough. But and I'm gonna be real, because I will always point out when I'm guilty of certain things. I'm guilty, of propping up white artists and white creators, you know what I mean, for their creations. But we also got to give, that same energy and those same flowers to the brothers that create characters like they did with Milestone. You know what I mean? So, hey, Tracy Wills, good morning, good morning, good morning. So, I think it's just right to do a dedicated video just to the history of Milestone Comics and why those characters in that universe is important. So that would be coming, in the future, especially when this work slow down.
Company named Milestone Media. They created a space for Black and underrepresented comic book creators to succeed in their own right,
What up,
creating their
Torian?
own set of characters and continuity called the Dakotaverse, which all mostly took place in the fictional city of Dakota. This is where you would see the emergence of heroes like Static, Icon, Hardware, and Rocket. DC Comics agreed to a partnership with Milestone in 1993, where Milestone would still be independent and have full creative control over the characters and stories, while DC would have publishing and distribution rights. The first 4 titles launched in this new initiative were the first issues of Hardware, Icon, Static, and Blood Syndicate. One of the key focuses of the work culture in Milestone was to give attention to talent from a range of ethnic and cultural backgrounds who had trouble making.
Now, the reason why I want to say that, this needs to be talked about, because what is the main argument when it comes to, these folks, the Eric Julys and all of this, we need to create characters and we need our own characters. Don't look at the mainstream guys when it comes to characters. Well, this is one of the not the earliest birth, but one of the births of that. They took, characters that black kids could relate to, and created comics out of that. You know what I mean? And there wasn't the only black creators, but they got the major attention from DC, which again, these people this is a business, and these people in this business are dirty. But let me give you a word from our sponsors, and I'll come right back with more of DC Hates and Disrespect Static Shock. Hold up, wait a minute, whoa. Stop everything you're doing. Go and hit that like button. I know this is probably your first time watching, and you probably enjoying everything. Stop fucking on the channel and go and hit that subscribe button so you never miss one of my videos or one of my morning live streams. And for only $2.99 a month, you can be a part of the crew. And shout out to all my crew members that have been holding it down for Dre Mac and the crew since the beginning. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program, now in service. Go. Bye. And again, shout out to all the crew members in here. Earl Hughes, you said it right on the money. I wish they would have made a universe also, because I think that would have been dope. But then that shows you, let's be honest with you, and it could be a cartoon just like Invincible. And you get some of the greatest black talent that's out there to be able to voice these characters. I honestly wish Aaron Magruder, had a better relationship so he could be able to bring these characters to life. As like a co-director or something like that, just because how well he did the Boondocks. You know what I mean? But they need their own show like on Amazon or Hulu, just like anybody else does. But I do agree with you also. I wish they would have made it with Image too, because I think Image would have even flourished even more. But let's be real. We have a problem. This is almost 32 years ago. People still got a problem with black characters and original black characters at that. Let's keep going.
Making a name for themselves in the comic book industry. It wasn't just a space for hiring only black comic artists and writers. What made Milestone Comics stand out was their devotion to tackling issues not often seen in traditional American comics, like racism and police brutality. After making comics for about 4 years, Milestone Media unfortunately shut down its comic division in 1997 due to a major downturn in comic sales in the industry after the boom of comic sales in the early 90s, as well as some misconceptions of Milestone books being suited only for black readers despite being intended for a wider diverse audience. The editor
is crazy. Have y'all ever thought about that? We can sit up here and we can read comic books with white character after white character after white character after white character after white character, white characters, and we don't care because we just want to read the stories and we're just fascinated, with what the character is going to do, who the villain is, all of this stuff, how compelling the character is. But yet we don't get that same energy. We don't get that same grace to create our characters. And they have that same, that same grace. You see what I mean? When we create stuff, this is just for black. This ain't got nothing to do with me. It's a black thing. But you could create characters. Like, you complain about us not having characters. Did we create characters? You were like, well, that's just for y'all. You know what I mean? But I've been watching white characters for forever. And yeah, you're right, Torian. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, if you notice, we don't get that same grace. You know what I mean? We don't never get the same respect for us putting people that look like us on screen. So that this industry is hella racist. Because why? Why would you if we're supposed to be so diverse and we're supposed to be and I'm just pointing back, especially at the at the far left, and said we're in a new era and we're more diverse than ever, then why is it not proven? We still have comic books and movies where you got an all-black cast that still gets crapped on because it's black. Because there's a black lead. Oh, it can't sell internationally. Because it's a black lead. Oh, it can't do this. Oh, it's a black lead. Look, they're struggling right now. And then when they hit 300 million, we can't get that same energy to apologize. You know what I mean? Is to keep in the back of your mind or the front of your mind exactly where we're still at, how we still got to fight for as simple as fictional characters. And then if we're fighting over fictional characters, just guess when we start talking about history that hasn't been whitewashed and the color of those people, especially the ones in that Bible. Let's keep going.
In chief of DC Comics, back when Milestone Media first came about, wanted to pitch cartoons about some of the Milestone characters.
Thank you, Daryl.
A bunch of Milestone projects were pitched over the years before Static was ultimately chosen to get his own animated series. Dennis Cowan would end up working with the writers and producers of previous DCAU shows to develop Static Shock. Dwayne McDuffie would go on to write several episodes of the show as well. The Static Shock cartoon shared many similarities with the source material, though there were a few notable differences, such as Static's costume design and a change to Virgil Hawkins' backstory, where his mother had died prior to the show's events, whereas in the comics she was still alive when he became Static. Additionally, Richie Foley would end up being Static's confidant in the show instead of Frida, who in the comics was Static's best friend who knew his secret identity. Static Shock was one of the first shows to have an African-American superhero as the lead. It's kind of crazy to think about how it's one of the only prominent cartoons or shows centering on a black superhero.
I never knew how important it would be to meet a role model like you. A black superhero. It validates me somehow. Sometimes I wish there was a black superhero back home for folks to look up to.
But there is, and he is my hero too.
Fortunately,
and that's what's so dope. 80s kids, and some of the 90s kids, when we were growing up, we really didn't see prominent black superheroes. So that's why we cling to Marvel and DC characters so hard, I would say even before that, you know what I mean? If you're reading, if you're a 70s kid or even the 60s, but if you all you knew was white heroes, and you always thought, what's up, be positive. You always thought, man, where is the black superheroes? Like, I want to see more black superheroes. I mean, you had the Jackson 5, Fat Albert and Friends. That was like, fully black. Or if you are watching, let's say Scooby-Doo, you might get the Harlem Globetrotters in there. Mr. T. Now, I will say, for an 80s baby, Mr. T was a black superhero. Because Mr. T had a cartoon, he had his own cereal, he was on the A-Team, you know what I'm saying? He was in Rocky. Mr. T technically was our black superhero, even though he did not have superpowers. His superpower was telling us that we could be able to make it. We were great. And I'm talking about animation. Be positive. You're right. Meteor Man came in 93, but nobody took Meteor Man serious. As far as like an actual intellectual property that you could grow merch and do, video cartoons and stuff off of, that type of thing. If you kind of get what I'm saying, so Tori and Ray Reloaded, thank you so very much for the $20 super chat, man. Y'all been very blessed, man. Y'all, Who, Jesus Lord. And they have to set it up where we are somehow always worshiping them as a hero or the standard of beauty. They don't want us valuing ourselves. That's what leads to the self-hate complex we have today. Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why I was going so hard, right? I was going so hard at people disrespecting Riri Williams. Because when I was a kid, we didn't have a Riri Williams. When I was a kid, we didn't have a Miles Morales. You know, the closest thing that, and just think about this, the other closest thing we got is like a black superhero, yeah, we claim Pathro. Thank you. You know what I mean? We claim Pathro, but the closest thing we got to like a black superhero, like a major cartoon that was based on comics, was Bishop from X-Men. Unless I'm missing some people, you know what I mean? But again, thank you so very much for that super chat. Let me go ahead and hook you up. Let's go.
You are truly amazing. Thank you for your super chat.
Again, thank you so very much for that super chat. It is exactly. I think that's why I've really been, going so. And this is just me because, like I said, one of my kids is on a spectrum, and when Black Panther came out, he literally engulfed T'Challa. He engulfed him. He wanted to be Black Panther for. This is the power of image, right? He wanted to be Black Panther for Halloween, so he got to be Black Panther for Halloween. He got to be, he named his dog T'Challa. The Brown Hornet. What man, you're right. You're right. The Brown Hornet. I got to give you that. But it was wrapped up in the Fat Albert cartoon, but you are right, though. You are right. But, this kid, he became like, I wanted to know everything. And I don't know if you know about, anybody on the spectrum of autism, but when they tend to want to learn something, they gonna learn. They gonna learn. And this kid was engulfed in T'Challa. And he cried when Chadwick Boseman died. Because that's the end of his superhero for him. And for him not coming back on screen, he literally start losing interest because T'Challa is gone. Like, this is the importance of representation. Again, if a young black girl is seeing Riri Williams on screen or Shuri, how can I say I don't want them to see their superhero on screen? Like, honestly, I wouldn't want to do that. You know what I mean? I would not want to do that. Yeah, a lot of people know I'm a Deadpool fan. Whether it's Ryan Reynolds or Nolan North, if you really want to know. That was my first Deadpool from the Deadpool game and the animated cartoon. You know what I mean? But I would be hurt because that's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. So when you take these characters away, the Static Shocks, the Miles Morales, and you don't make them prominent, are we not elevating these characters properly? You don't know what kid you're depriving of that character. Like, we grew up like black people, we love almost damn near everybody's culture, right? You know what I mean? Back in the day, even me doing Kung Fu Cinema Saturdays, you know what I mean? It pays homage to the times we used to, go to the movies and stuff like that and go watch Kung Fu Fix. You know what I mean? Or we'll go to, go to the taco stand because, we want to get some authentic tacos, not Tex-Mex. You know what I mean? Some real tacos. You know what I mean? So we going over there. We're going to the Asian restaurants to get hair, nails, and food. You know what I mean? But then, we'll worship those characters. We're going to white neighborhoods and stuff like that. We'll worship those characters and the things that they have. But what are we actually worshiping that is ours in looking at value? This is why Static Shock and all these other characters is so important. Dre, if you see the little black girl dressed up as Ironheart for Halloween, how would that make you feel? Honestly, I would know that the impact of that character actually worked. Just like I seen little black girls dressed up as Shuri after the first Black Panther movie. I actually would be more, I would be happy. And this is the reason why I'm gonna get back to the video. We knew, and this is one of the reasons why I had a problem with, okay, Bill Cosby, Dr. Cosby, it was a lot of things that was said about Dr. Cosby. I'm not going to get into it, you know what I mean, or anything like that, because I just be going in circles. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, Blaster and Jazz. You know, yeah, shout out to Jazz, Scatman Carruthers, you know what I mean? But anyway, but it almost threw me off. But back in the day when I was growing up, you know, Dr. Cosby, don't care what nobody say, Dr. Cosby was some of the things that we looked up to as kids. A lot of us that grew in, and especially I grew up in the projects, you know what I'm saying, and all of that, I would want a Dr. Cosby. You know what I'm saying? Even though I wanted David Hasselhoff to be my daddy too, because he had Kit and I wanted to ride in the Kit. You know what I mean? But Dr. Cosby, when he, you know, did the offshoot of A Different World, and you see black kids at colleges, you know, and then you go off and you see like Martin and other shows, you know, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and they have all HBCU gear, made me want to look into HBCUs. FAMU. I wanted to go to FAMU so bad. I didn't want to go to Lincoln in Missouri. I wanted to go to FAMU. You know what I mean? Didn't get it, you know what I mean? But that is the power of positive image. You know, I called my homegirl yesterday. You know, she watching, no disrespect, but she watching baddies. I'm just saying. Let me keep going, because I be going on these tangents, man. But, you know, Rickety Rocket. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm trying to think. I don't think so. You said DC doesn't own what's up, Sick Horror Kingman? DC doesn't own Static or Icon, that's why they don't push them. Yeah. Which it sucks.
The show was met with really positive reception. It was the highest rated show across all the networks for its particular time slot, aiming at kids from ages 2 to 11. The only show to outperform Static Shock consistently on Kids WB when it was airing its final season would be Pokemon, and the show would continue to do even better in ratings once it ran reruns on Cartoon Network. One of the things that made Static Shock stand out so much was the way it was able to incorporate the standard beats you'd see in a kids cartoon, while also not shying away from very serious topics that occurred in the real world, and was representative of what teens could be going through back then, or really at any time period. You think back on the restrictions many children's cartoons faced on what they couldn't say or show. They literally couldn't call Slade Wilson Deathstroke in the Teen Titans cartoon due to censorship reasons. Meanwhile, Static's powers, like in the comics, are a result of gang violence, and you see one of his gangbanger friends give him a gun right before the Big Bang. Or how about the fact that Virgil's best friend's dad was a straight-up racist?
And now I see why Richie acts like a hood, Maggie. That kid's a bad influence. All his kind are. I gotta deal with them all day long. Now one of them's in my house.
My best friend's gone because of you and your stupid racism.
And this is the dope part about, you know, about Static Shock. Because if you know him and Virgil with his friend's relationship, it wasn't like, oh, I got a white friend, or oh, I got a black friend. You know what they were? Just friends. Racing had nothing to do, didn't have anything to do with it. They were just cool with each other. And, you know, I remember watching this. I just watched, this was like a couple weeks ago. I watched the documentary on the APA, right? Ron Simmons and John Bradshaw Layfield, right? And they were talking about how Vince McMahon was trying to push just them being this black and white friends and try to make it a race thing to talk about unity and stuff like that. It was like, no, just let us do what we do. And the reason why is because we're not tripping off of it. We're just friends. This is like in Ron and JBL said, this is like my brother. They're like, we became brother because all they did was kicking on the road together. And it got so close that the image that they saw in back of the stage, they put it out in the forefront. They just put it on TV. You know what I mean? And that's crazy that some people just don't see it. It's kind of like that joke that Dave Chappelle said. It was like they were had to, have you ever heard of the infamous buddies? Yeah. We shot the pilot. It was like, look, he got a back friend. Look at them, laugh and joke with each other. Like, we can't just have that naturally without, it's like, oh, this is my white friend. Oh, this is my black friend. Here, my Asian buddy over here. What? Which is, at the end of the day, man, culturally, we different. But dog, you know what I mean? If we ain't tripping off of that, why are you? But this is, again, these are deep episodes that you don't normally hear. You are in today's cartoons.
Hey! One of the most famous episodes of the show was the 11th episode of the second season titled Jimmy, where a kid gets picked on throughout the episode and brings his dad's handgun to school to confront his bully. But Virgil's best friend, Richie Foley, ends up getting caught in the crossfire and is shot in the process. Then at the end of the episode, Static delivers a PSA directly to the audience about the dangers and ramifications of gun violence, particularly for young teenagers and kids. The show actually won a Humanitas Award in the children's animation category because of this episode. I mean, hell, Static in the 9th episode of the 4th and final season taught kids about dyslexia and how those struggling with it can seek help and overcome their challenges.
Whoever said comics don't teach you anything?
Throughout its duration, Static Shock would additionally get nominated for a handful of daytime Emmy Awards. Damn, they really crafted a dread-headed superhero who was not only dripped out, funny, relatable, and taught kids about important life lessons. These levels of sauce were just simply not common.
The kids got.
Do you think that they have a problem? Do you think, like, and this is for everybody in the comment section. What's up, Dalon45? Do you think that these companies, they do it to say they have diversity, but they don't want that type of image on TV, that positive image? Put in the comment section below. Because besides Craig of the Creek ain't, I love Craig of the Creek. I watched that with my son. Craig of the Creek is dope. You know what I mean? No, he didn't do the RG3 thing. But Craig of the Creek is dope. It's not as deep and just in your face as Static Shock, but it's a really good cartoon. That shows a positive image, of a black family. Do you think that that's still a problem, or maybe I'm overlooking certain shows like, the show that Chill is just covered, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna rewatch that whole entire season. You know what I'm saying, for myself. But do you think they have a problem with that still? Put it in the comment section below.
Got style.
Another cool thing about the Static Shock cartoon was its ties to the DC animated universe of shows. There would be a couple of references to certain characters in the first season, but the connective tissues really started to manifest in the beginning of the second season, where the Glorious King and Robin traveled to Dakota to track down the Joker and eventually team up with Static. This would be the gateway in allowing Static to have future team-ups with Batman and the rest of the Justice League once in a while. Static teamed up with Batman the most, having around 4 or so crossovers, including the Batman Beyond Future episode and the Justice League episode.
Batman's not going to be happy when he hears how you've been treating his guests. I'm Batman. And I'm Beyonce.
You know this kid? He says his name's Beyonce.
Really, nigga?
He would go on to have an episode teaming up with Superman and another with...
Yo, I love his editing of this video. Shout out to M Enterprises.
Jon Stewart's Green Lantern, both of whom, funnily enough, are voiced by Phil Lamar. The Teen Titans were confirmed to have been established in the DCAU, even though we never see them. Alan Burnett wanted to set the stage for a Static and Titans crossover before the Teen Titans cartoon aired in 2003. The main concern was that the Static episode that mentions the Titans would air before the pilot of Teen Titans, and they decided to go with a Justice League crossover later on instead. To clarify, the Teen Titans cartoon is not in the same universe as Static Shock and the rest of the DCAU, but I guess that might have been the initial intent.
Where's Robin?
With the Titans.
Who?
You'll meet him someday.
Despite all of the show's success, Static Shock would be canceled after 4 seasons, primarily because of low merchandise
Andrew, what's
sales.
up? What's
Due
up?
to the costs of Western animation at the time, the only way for a show to make profit was via revenue from toys, clothing, and other typical merchandise tied to a hit series. Static.
I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I just don't remember. But I don't remember toys and merch for Static Shock like that. Back when it was hot. I don't know. Put it in the comment section. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I haven't been to eBay and seen a Static Shock toy, but put it in the comment section from that time period, not now, from that time period. Let me know. Keep going. Let's keep going.
Static Shock was unable to grab the interest of a lot of toy companies and other merchandise distributors.
Well, if it's a cartoon, we got to get a toy. So they went to the toy company and brought the character designs and the premise and everything. And the toy company said, nah, we don't really see a market for a character like that. But we all know exactly what they meant.
Yeah. Phil Lamar, first of all, shout out to Phil Lamar, the OGs that I met, that I've watched, especially after A Living Color, Mad TV. Shout out to that brother right there. But it's funny that you could count. You could say, "Hey, we have this hit TV show that's winning all of these awards or whatever. No toys, no nothing. You know what I mean? No, we're not gonna give you jack, right?" The same thing with the Boondocks. We're not going to give you no merch, no nothing. So is that not the literal definition of oppression? Put it in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this. This is deep stuff.
That decision to not have merch was one of the reasons that after 4 seasons of being the top rated show on that Saturday morning network thing, Static Shock got canceled because it wasn't making them no extra money.
No, you get your goddamn ass out of here.
And there it is, not even 5 seconds. The Americans are ruthless as usual. Racism is running amok out there. They definitely are going to have to find a better way to hold that racism in. It is getting blatant.
At Sandy.
Shout out to RDC World, too. Shout out to RDC World. Boycott Activision, what's up? Good morning, good morning. You said we can't get a wrestler, we can't get a superhero, we can't get a video game character. Black men are blacklisted. Icon of Rocket was also in Young Justice. Yeah, shout out to RDC World. Shout out to RDC World. Super dope. Super dope. But just think, if Static could have got a toy and merch and all of that, just think, I just got a new Miles Morales figure. Matter of fact, hold on, y'all. I just want to show y'all. Just got this Miles Morales figure. And the only reason, come on, let's focus. I guess they don't want to focus because it's still focused on me. But the only reason why he doesn't have his head, because this is from Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man #1. This is where he took it from. It came with a little comic book. It's out at Walmart or Target or something like that. It comes with his head. But the only reason why I didn't put his head on there, because I got the cartoon one, or the one from Into the Spider-Verse, without his mask. So because I wanted to do something a little different, show him, in the costume. I think I might go back and go get another one, so I have 2. One with his head on, one with his head off. Because I do that sometimes. I double up on sometimes on particular figures if I want to display them in a certain way. But yeah. But just think of Miles Morales getting that same love, Static Shock getting that same love that Miles Morales got. Just think of how much that would be, or how great that would be.
San Diego Comic-Con 2008, it was formally announced that the Milestone universe would officially merge with the DC Comics universe, with a couple of characters appearing in Justice League of America and Static becoming an official member of the Teen Titans. Ripple effects of the merger would be seen in the Young Justice animated show, which included appearances of Static, Icon and Rocket in the first couple of seasons. Rather than gaining his abilities via the Big Bang, which involved radioactive tear gas like in the comics or in the animated show, Virgil was a metahuman whose metagene was activated after he was abducted and experimented on by the Reach, who sought to trigger his latent abilities. Although there was missed potential with Static after the second season, where in the third season he just gets relegated to the one guy on the Outsiders team who can't get a girlfriend and doesn't do much of significance. Static Shock was among the 52 new comic titles that were a part of the New 52 initiative.
That cover is dope. Even though I didn't like New 52, that cover is awesome.
In 2011, this reboot had Virgil relocate from Dakota City to New York with his family and featured him interning at Star Labs. The series was canceled after only 8 issues, and the co-writer of the Static Shock title left after the first 4 issues due to his frustrations behind the scenes.
It got canceled. Not in like this is not the end. They literally canceled it, and the reason why they canceled it because he couldn't put his flavor into it, and they were trying to. And then sometimes that's what happens when these smaller companies get swallowed up by bigger corporations. The original character, the way he's supposed to be, is never the same. Isn't never the same, and I do not like that. And that's very disrespectful because it's basically kind of like, this is just, I'm just using this as an example. It's just like when WCW was going out of business and, Vince McMahon bought them. And the way that they relegated the characters to be one-punch notes, jokes and all of that until they got their own popularity. Booker T, who the Rudy Poo is you. Just disrespected the guy who worked hard in this industry. One of the reasons why Sting said he wouldn't come. Now, just think about that in the comic book realm, where you got these comic book characters that were created by 3 black creators. President is Reginald Hunlin. And who's a comic book writer. A movie producer, movie writer. Also started all of this stuff. And they're saying, hey, we have something here, we could be able to do, and they get, the character goes into this, this new universe or whatever they share, but then they get relegated. I believe the same thing is happening with Blue Marvel too. What up, Gray? I think the same thing is happening with Blue Marvel too. So yeah, and I didn't like the New 52. I did not like it at all. But anyway, Dre, should we try to get a Static Shock show going? I think we push it right, we could do it. I believe I want to see what because I think somebody put in the chat earlier, Michael B. Jordan was trying to get something off the ground with Static Shock 2. And I want to see, because of all the internal issues at Marvel that is going on right now. You know what I mean? All the internal issues that's going on with Marvel right now. I want to see if DC will course correct. And then I believe we can go from there. All right, let's keep going.
Co-writer John Rosen went into detail on how he felt benched by the creative team when it came to implementing his ideas, constantly being lectured by writer Scott McDaniel on his writing methods being incorrect, despite never having written anything previously. McDaniel never read a single Static comic prior to writing the New 52 series, nor did he watch a single episode of the cartoon show, yet he would still go out of his way to tell Rosen that what he wrote for Static's dialogue didn't fit well with the character. There was less of a focus on compelling character-driven stories and more emphasis on the book being more action-packed and having more eye-candy moments to keep the reader engaged. There's not
one of the reasons why I did not like DC. I will read some DC comics unless it's like Batman, you know what I mean? But I'll read certain DC comics. I'm like, dude, I don't care nothing about this character or whatever. You know what I mean? And this is just honest to God's truth. I'm like, I don't even care because there's nothing to care about. It's just, punching, kicking, and fighting, but there's nothing compelling to get me invested in the character like that. I'm not saying all of them, not saying all, but that's one of the reasons why I did not like DC. and why I went with Marvel so much, because at least it will make a lot of characters compelling or have these horrible backstories and stuff like that. There's something that I could grasp to. A lot of the characters I couldn't really grasp to it. You know what I mean? So
there's not a lot of time dedicated to fleshing out Static's supporting cast or implementing his better known rogues gallery. Static's alter ego as Virgil Hawkins was put to the side as it wasn't deemed as important enough. For some reason, they included this plot of Virgil's sister being kidnapped and cloned before the start of the series, and now he has 2 sisters in the family. It's really bizarre and not fleshed out properly. Milestone Comics, however, was planning on making a comeback, with Reginald Hudlin and Dennis Cowan teaming up with DC to bring back Milestone and its characters in 2015. This was halted a couple of years later due to a lawsuit filed by Dwayne McDuffie's widow, as McDuffie passed away a few years prior to the announcement to revive Milestone. She claimed that his estate was not properly included in Milestone's revival. Milestone would officially return in Milestone Returns Issue 0 in 2020, which kicked off a new wave of Milestone titles on their flagship characters like Static, Icon, and Rocket, and Hardware. They wanted to go all in with the Milestone Media relaunch initiative in not only producing new titles on their characters, but also expand in other forms of media. During DC Fandom 2021, Reggie Hudlin and Dennis Cowan announced a direct-to-home video animated movie centered on the Milestone characters. In typical DC fashion, this never ended up happening, and we've had no updates on the movie since its announcement. The biggest announcement was Michael B. Jordan producing a live-action Static Shock movie, which was supposed to set the stage for building a new cinematic universe centered on black superheroes. The movie had a writer attached, but it's unclear how far he got in the scriptwriting process. The movie was also very likely to be an HBO Max exclusive, as the president of DC Films at the time, Walter Hamada, talked about how the more expensive DC movies were being made for theatrical release, while additional smaller budget movies would release on HBO Max, hinting at riskier characters like Static and Batgirl. The movie was never officially canceled, but there has been no word on its development since the writer was announced in March 2021. And with the change of leadership at Warner Brothers and the formation of DC Studios, the project was likely abandoned. Not giving Static a blockbuster movie in modern times was definitely a missed opportunity. And
exactly, it's most definitely a missed opportunity for the simple fact is that you have the rise, and you got to give Marvel this. What DC should have did when Black Panther came out, and a lot of people have said this, and I'm just repeating what a lot of the consensus was, that's when DC should have came out with their black superhero. DC should have came out, had Static Shock that would have rivaled Spider-Man, because you got a young, superhero. You got you got a superhero that is very popular, very popular for that time. And he would still be in the zeitgeist of the people that will be watching these movies. It would have been of their age. They would have been in their mid to late 20s, maybe even early 30s, as far as like that group that watched it as a kid. Then it would have been like, yo, we're getting our, Virgil was coming. You would have drawn just as much buzz. It may be not as much, but you would have generated buzz just off the back of Black Panther. You know what I mean? If they wanted to make Batman be Superman, I would have introduced Static Shock, just because I seen what Marvel just did with their black superhero. I seen what they did with their black superhero. Let me drop this ace in the hole. Bam, here's my black superhero. Matter of fact, when when Enter the Spider-Verse came out, they should have said, bam, that's another shot. DC wasn't being ran well. And if James Gunn is smart, which I believe he is, I am going to give him a chance. I know Darius won't, but I'm going to give him a chance. If he could come out, and introduce these black characters, I'm not saying you got the small screen, everything's connected. If you want to put Virgil on HBO Max, how many of us would sit up here and complain about that? Nobody. I don't think nobody would complain, because look what happened with the Penguin. So we seen Miles Morales. We see Virgil Hawkins, the way that the original character was introduced in the cartoon. How many of us would sign up and watch that? I know I would.
in expanding Static's popularity and allowing him to become more mainstream. It could have introduced the character to a new generation of fans, giving black kids today the kind of representation they experienced in the early 2000s with the original cartoon. It's kind of crazy that Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle got his own movie before Static. That's not a knock on Jaime as Blue Beetle. I like the character, but Static was definitely more popular and recognizable due to the success of the cartoon. On the comic front, Static would make a big splash with a new comic series in 2021 as a part of the Milestone initiative that would give him a new origin and reintroduce his mythos in a modern setting. This series I felt catered better to fans of the original series from the 90s as well as fans of the cartoon, as a lot of these characters are depicted and reimagined in a more modern setting while still staying true to their roots. Even if you've never picked up a Static comic, this serves as a perfect jumping on point as it gives Static a new origin. There are tons of character designs that you'll be able to recognize off the bat if you're exposed.
Just think about this. They do a Static, if they did a Static Shock cartoon, but it is what is a lot of black kids, these ain't black kids, but you have kids and young adults and stuff like that. What are they watching right now? What is the biggest genre in animation that they're watching right now? They're watching anime. So reimagine Static Shock, in the style of anime. And watch, I'm trying to tell y'all, I'm even getting excited thinking. I just got goosebumps, y'all. I just got goosebumps. Just think of Static Shock. Just think about it. You don't want to introduce, you want to, let's say for the sake of interview, sake of argument, James Gunn doesn't want to do a movie. He doesn't want to do a live action show. But remember what he also said. If they appear in a cartoon, they can appear in live action, right? Tell me, y'all wouldn't watch a Static Shock anime. Oh my God. And with the rise of anime the way that it is right now, just look at, when the Boondocks went from season 1 to season 2 to season 3, and now the animation got better and better and better. You know what I mean? Where season 3 came around, but like, damn, that's dope. I'm just saying, watching Static Shock and anime is going to bring the anime fans. The people who go to anime cons, stuff like that. Let me be a part of marketing for DC, boy. Let's wrap this up.
Exposure to Static is limited to the TV show. Many of the designs of his rogues, for example, were heavily inspired by the cartoon. You've got your classic villains like Hotstreak and Ebon that fans of the cartoon will be able to spot. You've also got Virgil's supporting cast like Frida, Daisy, Richie, Virgil's sister Sharon, and his parents. Nicholas Draper Ivy's sort of Afro anime art style really stands out and fits well with Static in his universe. The new origin for Static features Virgil going to a Black Lives Matter protest because his friend / crush Frida invited him, but police officers shot experimental tear gas at the protesters, which created the Big Bang, manifesting Bang Babies, giving Virgil his powers. So it still maintains the idea of Bang Babies getting their abilities via radioactive tear gas, but instead of a gang meetup at the docks, it's a protest. The creation and success of Static as a character is emblematic of what Milestone Media were trying to accomplish when combating black stereotypes seen in comics or any other superhero-related projects. Static gave young audiences a relatable, represented figure, a teenage black nerd who was charming and witty, yet also faced real and heavy struggles, from family issues to maintaining relationships. Despite all that, he still chose to give back to his community in any way he could. Not only that, but Static also has a pretty cool power set. His powers are electromagnetic, and in moments via the TV show or in the comics, you'll see Virgil utilize his intelligence and knowledge in physics to use his powers in creative ways. He can see across a wide range of the electromagnetic spectrum by concentrating hard enough, generate powerful force fields, magnetize certain objects, and can move large chunks of metal with his abilities. It goes far beyond just basic electric-based powers.
He's basically turning into Magneto. He's basically turning into an electrified Magneto.
Shame Static never got to reach his full potential in terms of popularity in the past decade, give or take. The positive response to Static Shock was emblematic of how much people were yearning for a superhero of that caliber. Him and a lot of the Milestone characters have been on the back burner for several years, partly due to some legal troubles with the lawsuit, but even with that, they were still sidelined in projects they were allowed to appear in, like Young Justice, which leads me to believe that Static probably could have shown up in a couple of other DC animated or maybe even live action projects over the years. For some reason, they can't seem to get a movie about any of the Milestone heavy hitters off the ground, whether it be in live action or animation. His team-ups with the Teen Titans or crossovers with the Justice League and the animated series are demonstrations of his personality and heroism, bouncing off well with the other heroes of the DC universe. Hopefully Static will regain the mainstream appeal that he deserves in the near future.
Yo, shout out to M Enterprises for that. Shout out to M Enterprises. Now, there was a question about Spawn that I seen earlier, and I wanted to read it real quick. That was for maybe I missed it. Okay, I know you put this in the chat, so I'm gonna read this one too. You said, do you think they see the all-black hero having lightning powers and that why not doing it? They read what's going on and they seen people say this. I know that that's a thing, but I don't care. I just like black superhero. I don't personally care, but you know, it is kind of weird. You know what I mean? But it's not. I just want to see black superheroes. Spawn, in my opinion, one of the black characters, black heroes ever. He really OP. Dre, how well do you know him? 1993, I picked up in Minnesota at the Mall of America. I picked up Spawn number, I believe it was 19. That was my first real comic because I've said this before. Is May Kid up here? Hey, May Kid. Yeah, I would love to see an Icon movie too. But so that was my first real comic. And the reason why is because I was not allowed to get that type of stuff. Shut up, Torian. But I wasn't allowed to get certain comics. So I couldn't get them. But for some reason, I was able to get that comic. And when I read it, I was like, oh, snap, son. This dude is crazy. Love him. Love him. And then, you know, a few years later, Michael J. White playing Spawn. That was the last time that I seen an original character like that get so much love in the first like 4 years. And it was like, here, you know, because he was universally loved, you know, with Spawn. So that's just me personally. They see people say all black heroes have lightning powers, and we'll say maybe they see that. I don't think all black, you know, because there's black characters that have all range of different abilities and stuff like that. So the fact that they pick a few of them that are popular that have electric powers, I think it's kind of unfair. I think it's a little unfair, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's just kind of how you feel about that. Yeah, and I don't know what's going on with the Jamie Foxx version of Spawn either. You know, it's one of those weird things to me. It is one of those weird things. And again, I grew up, you know, loving Green Turtles. But we have a hard time just getting black characters just off the ground, man. I think Reginald Hunlin needs to find out a little bit, you know, because of his pull in Hollywood. I think that's the perfect person to get this off of the ground, really truly off the ground if he really wanted it.
Yo, the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up. Wrap that up, B.
I tried to hold it. I'm sorry. I am exhausted. I work my behind off and I am exhausted, like seriously. But I thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Dre Mac Show. Of course, y'all got to tell me what you guys think about this. Like, are we just tripping? Do we see what's going on even in the comic book realm? Is that a reflection of real life? Yeah, I'm yawning on camera because I'm tired. It is Thursday. Go hug your fur baby today. I don't have one. But I gotta get out. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get some sleep. I'm tired. But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Dre Mac Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you never, ever miss one of my videos again. Until next time, I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace and vibe power, man. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Where's my outro at? I got to take a nap. I got to need my Overteen shot. Wait a minute. You're telling me the video's over? What? Okay, I guess so. If you have came to this portion of the video, thank you so very much for sticking to the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that little bell notification so you never miss one of my videos. And if you really want to, you don't got to, go ahead and follow the social media links that's down below. Until next time, I'll let you guys later. Peace and vibe higher, y'all. Y'all take care of yourself.